This is Malka and welcome back. I have another monthly wrap up for you. This is everything I read and watched in the month of February. I read 8 books and I watched 6 movies, and I've been watching lots of TV. Let's get into it. The first book I read in February was I, Medusa by Ayana Gray. I almost got through it in the month of January, but I had like 30 pages left, so I finished it at the very beginning of the month. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was a really good Greek mythology retelling, and that is something I really gravitate towards, so I thought this was an excellent one. I have seen so many people give this book 5 stars, and I think that's totally warranted. I just feel like it's a personal preference thing with the writing of the dialogue specifically. I read an arc of Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About by Isabel Klee. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I adored this book. I thought it was so lovely. This is a memoir written by an influencer who fosters dogs in New York City. This book talks a lot about fostering dogs, but also what it's like to come of age, sort of, in New York City. It feels very Sex and the City, and I thought it was really good. I really like how she drew parallels between the life lessons that she's learned from people and from dogs, and I was really surprised by how much I really liked her writing. It's really beautiful, but it's also simple. I think this is such an achievement for her, and I highly recommend reading it. I read Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy. This is a new release I've been looking forward to for quite a long time, and I gave it 3 stars. I was fairly disappointed in it, but I also am not going to be deterred from reading anything she writes in the future, because I did see some merit in it, and I loved her nonfiction book that she wrote before this, so I still really like Jennette McCurdy. I just think that this felt sort of hollow and flat, but I also recognize and understand the importance of the story that she was telling. I just feel like the characters were not fleshed out at all, and I have actually read several books that felt very similar and were done better regarding like age gaps and like specifically teacher-student relationships. I feel like this just fell a little flat for me. I read Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I have had this book on my list for so long, and I'm so glad I finally read it. This is a 5-star read. I'm so glad I own it. I will be reading it again. This book is so emotional. The way that James Baldwin is able to write the exact feeling of forcing yourself to accept who you are is phenomenal. The main character's relationships with everyone in the book are so raw and emotional, and it's very interesting to read it from his point of view, because we're just seeing his reactions to people, and I think the amount of vulnerability that is in this book is so hard to write and so unique that I just really resonated with it. I think everyone should read this, not just if you're queer, but I think especially if you're queer, you should read this. And then I read Tough Guy by Reid, which is the 3rd book in the Game Changer series. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I really liked it. I put it sort of in the middle of Game Changer and Heated Rivalry. This one was fun. I had a good time. I don't really have that much to say about it. It felt a lot like the other ones, but I did really appreciate how much she talked about anxiety and how it manifests in different people's lives in different ways. So I really appreciated that representation. I also read Son of the Morning by Akwaeke Emezi. This is relatively new, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked it. I do think that if I were attracted to men, I would have liked it more, because the smut was like very well written in my opinion. So I can tell why people would really like it. I personally am just not a huge fan of romantasy in general, so I have a hard time connecting with it, but I do think it was like a good example of it, and I probably would recommend it to people who like romantasy. When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This is a thriller I got from a thrift store like so long ago, and it's been on my TBR for forever. So I was like, okay, it's Black History Month. I'm just gonna narrow down my physical TBR and only pick from Black authors, and this was the only thriller I had, so I decided to read it. I thought it was really fun. It is really well written, and it doesn't feel predictable or sort of cringy like some thrillers can. I don't think it's as much of a thriller as other thrillers that I have read. It is more of just like a literary fiction, and it has some mysterious elements to it, I would say. I gave this 4 stars, mostly because I just didn't like some of the dialogue. I struggle with people's dialogue when I don't feel like it's something that someone actually would say. And this is one of those, but I also knocked it down a little bit just because it's not a thriller. It's like, I think it would have done much better marketed as literary fiction, and or even like just like the literary fiction of the mystery in it. I don't know. It's not a thriller in my opinion, but I really did like it and I would recommend it. And then the last book I read was Nowhere Burning by Catriona. This came out last week, and I actually finished it on the release day because I'm a bad art reader. But I gave this book 4 stars. I love Catriona. I have only read 2 of her other books. I've read Looking Glass Sound and Sundial, so I have yet to read most people's favorites. But of the 3 that I now have read, this one is my favorite. I thought that the premise was so interesting, and I really liked the world building in it. I also think Catriona just does a great job writing morally gray characters, because I don't really want a hero in a horror novel necessarily. I want the main character to be questionable so that I can be on their side while also being frustrated with their decisions, because that's the way in which horror really works, is that the main character doesn't do everything right. But I really loved all of the points of view and different timelines happening. I really think that she does a good job connecting all of them at the end, and I did not see the twist at the end coming. So I thought this was a great book. I just love Catriona writing. I don't really know what it is about it, but I always gravitate towards it. And then these are the 6 movies that I watched in February. I am trying to get through as many Oscars movies as possible before March 15th, and I'm on track to do that. But I still saw some new release movies as well in the theaters. So I saw The Moment, which is Charlie XCX's like mockumentary, and I gave it 4 stars. I had such a fun time. Alexander Skarsgård is in it, and he is so funny. I really think this was a great way to address all of the commentary and like the purpose of Brat Summer while being really funny about it and not really talking about it directly still. So I thought it was really good. I had a fun time, especially seeing it in the theater. And then this is a big one. I saw Wuthering Heights and I fucking hated it. I have not read the book, so I don't think that my opinions are of value when it comes to analyzing it as an adaptation. But as a film by itself, I gave it 2 stars. I think that Emerald Fennell has a problem coming up with her own original ideas, and a lot of her stuff is replicating or just straight up copying other directors. I think that I have a big problem with Emerald Fennell's presence in the film industry. What she does is very impressive to the average person or someone who doesn't watch films a lot. But I think that if you have watched any of the like relevant Oscar nominated or even just like recent films of a similar vibe, you would know that they're very similar and her ideas were not original. Yes, it looked cool. Yes, the costumes were cool. Yes, the production design was cool. None of that's original. Other people have already done exactly the same thing. It's like, yes, it's impressive, but I've already seen at least 5 directors do the exact same thing. I also personally just think Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie didn't have any chemistry. A lot of people disagree and thought that it was like super hot, and I just like don't see that. I thought it was all really boring sex and like nothing was that sexy. I'm not seeing any chemistry. So it made me worried about people a little bit who watched it. I give it 2 stars. I don't know if I said that. And then I watched Marty Supreme, which is Josh Safdie's new Oscar-nominated film. I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I hate Uncut Gems, so I was like very like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I do love Good Time, so I don't know what about Uncut Gems made me hate it. Like 0.5 star rating, hate it. But Marty Supreme was lovely. I shouldn't say lovely, it was so stressful, but it was really fun. And I thought everything about it was amazing. I don't think Timothée Chalamet should win the Oscar because the whole time I was like, that's Timothée Chalamet. So I think some of the acting for me really fell flat, but I think the filmmaking was really good. So I gave it 4 stars. I also saw One Battle After Another, which is Paul Thomas Anderson, and Leonardo DiCaprio was so good in it. I haven't seen him in anything in a while. I also gave this movie 4 stars. I had a good time. I think it's just not a movie for me necessarily, but I understand that it is good, and I recognize that it is good filmmaking. I just like wasn't super interested in it, and I truly, this is my problem with a lot of films, and I know it's unreasonable, but no film needs to be that long. I always prefer a 90-minute movie. I know that that is not reasonable, but I don't think any movie needs to be over 2.5 hours, because there's nothing that you can say in longer than that you couldn't say in shorter than that. So that's my main issue. I saw The Secret Agent, which I gave 4.5 stars. I loved it. I really hope Wagner Moura wins the Oscar. I'm really realizing that I am very into Brazilian cinema, and I need to watch more of it for sure, because I always just love the vibe of it, and also the style of filmmaking is very unique. I think it's also important to step away from watching Hollywood movies because, one, everyone looks normal, like regular people, and they're not like overly made up, and they don't have a bunch of plastic surgery, and I think it's really refreshing to watch foreign film because of that. But also just the setting is so different and feels like I'm gaining new perspective when I watch foreign films. So this is a great movie though. The plot is so interesting. The acting is phenomenal. I loved it. Everyone go watch it. And then we watched True Grit, which is a 2010 Coen Brothers film. I gave it 3.5 stars. I don't really like Westerns, but I thought it was fun. My wife gave it 5 stars. So I just don't think it's for me. But we're doing Coen Brothers trivia tomorrow, actually. So I wanted to add another one to my deck. And then TV shows that we've been watching. Bridgerton, of course. We finally finished it. I really liked this season. I thought it was so good, and I feel like it's one of the better ones that I've seen. It made me excited to keep watching it in the future seasons. We've also been watching The Pitt. I love The Pitt, and I can't wait to catch up and then keep watching every week. It's such a phenomenal show. If you watch it, you know why. If you haven't watched it yet, please go do it. And we've also been watching Traitors, which I love. It's one of my favorite reality shows. I look forward to it every single year. I just knew as soon as this person was cast that this would be the outcome of this season. I knew it immediately when I saw the casting. So I'm not going to spoil it, but if you know, you know. I love the Traitors. Survivor 50 also started last week, so we're gonna watch that. I love Survivor, and I'm in like a fantasy Survivor league or whatever. Very fun, very exciting. I love Suri with all my heart. March will be a lot more movie watching for me. I gotta watch like 8 more films to catch up for the Oscars, and then there's several new releases I'm very excited about. I have felt myself this last week sort of getting into a reading slump, so I'm hoping to pull myself out of that. We will see how March goes. If you want to see more of my individual reviews of these books and my full reasons for hating Wuthering Heights, I'm on TikTok at Malka Reads. I'm on Letterboxd at Malka Finn. I hope you all have a great March. Happy reading and watching.